Welcome to this quick video tutorial on how to link SeekingAlpha portfolio dividend information with Google Sheets and Google Calendar so that ultimately you can see all your upcoming dividend payments and ex-dividend dates on the Google Calendar, on the PC or on your smartphone. First, don't feel overwhelmed by the steps we're going through. It's a tutorial, and that's why it's rather comprehensive, but if you're just following them, it should be fairly easy and quickly to achieve these. And if you have any questions, just reach out to me, and I'll be happy to respond. So there are 4 things we need to do, and I will split the video into 4 sections. So the first one, the introduction, as well as setting up the portfolio and SeekingAlpha. Second is installing this Google Sheets add-on and how to access the Google Sheets. Third one is setting up the Google Calendar, and then finally setting up the Google Sheets and running it. So let's get started with the portfolio. So you obviously need an account on SeekingAlpha, and then if you log in, it should look like this. And you can see it's not a very pretty day today. So if you go to my portfolio, then you can create a new portfolio, or if you already have one, then you can just go to the ones you have. Let's take the Dow Jones as an example. And then you have various tabs with all sorts of different information around the stocks. The most interesting tab for us for this exercise is the dividends tab. Here we see all the ex-dividend dates and payout dates, the yield, payout ratios, and growth rates. But the most important one is obviously these 2 dates, because that will be the basis for how it pops up in our calendar. So if you start like with an empty portfolio, and you go here to create portfolio, just select the name, my new portfolio, just to keep it simple. And then, well, let's just add some stocks with the symbols. We just go with the ones suggested. So Apple and Google. And then we have those 2 here. Well, only obviously Apple is paying a dividend, but that way you can sort of populate your portfolio. And additionally, you can also put in the number of shares you own, even when you bought them, because that information will then be used to calculate the payment you're about to receive on that payout date. Alternatively, you can also manually insert it in the Google Sheets as we go through it. So that concludes part 1. Welcome to part 2. So we're now gonna install the Google Sheets add-on. So in the Google Sheets file I shared in the article, if you open that in G Drive, it will look like this. Now we go to add-ons, then we go to get add-ons, and then we search for a add-on which is called Sheets to GCal, which is basically saying Sheets to Google Calendar. And we're gonna install this, and you can see it's quite heavily used and a very good rating. I absolutely love this add-on, I have to tell you. So let's install it. We granted permission for installing, obviously, and then we'll have to choose an account. So if we have multiple, we should choose the right one, which is our default one. and then we'll have to grant it access to, well, quite a lot of things actually, basically to our calendar, because we wanted to view and edit events there, and also connect to an external service, which is basically writing data into the Google Calendar. We will allow. And then it's getting installed. And that's a fairly simple process to follow. And the creator of this plugin also has a great video tutorial here on how to set it up. But I will show you in the next parts what is relevant for our endeavor to succeed. Let me call it like this. So this is part 3 of our little series, and we're now here setting up a Google Calendar. So therefore we go to our browser, just go to any web page and then type in calendar.google.com, and then we'll see the Google Calendar. So right now my calendar is completely empty. If we go to the year view, you will see, yeah, there's absolutely nothing going on. So now we need to add 2 calendars. Therefore we go to the settings, kind of double. And then here to add calendar, create new calendar. First one we call ex-dividend dates, and create it. You could also add a description, but I mean this name is fairly self-explanatory, so really no need for a description here. And the other one is dividend payments. And once those 2 are created, then we can go back here. So this has been created. So now we see those 2 calendars here. We can now change the color. So let's actually go green for payments. Payments is nice. And let's go, I don't know, like lavender for the ex-dividend dates. And that concludes part 3 already. So this is part 4, and now we will set up Google Sheets so that everything works and we finally see our events in the calendar. So therefore we go to the Google Sheet, which I shared, and first thing we do is we go to File and make a copy so that it's our own copy where we're working in. You can just rename it whatever you want. I would just call it my Dividend Calendar 2020. And then it will create a copy of this sheet, which is then only accessible to you. And that's where we're gonna do some magic now. So this information screen here disappeared. So now we're here. So the first thing we do is we add 2 sheets. We just move them over here and over here, and name this one ex-dividend dates, and we'll name this one payout dates. So those are empty, and now we will link them to the calendar. Therefore we go to add-ons, go to our sheets to gcal, and convert this sheet to a Google Calendar input sheet. So now we can link it to our calendars that we created in part 3. So we're on the ex-dividend dates sheet. That's why we will link it to this calendar and set this up. And then it asks us to override all existing data. As there is obviously nothing in this blank sheet here, we're just going to continue. And then we see that it comes out with a pre-populated structure which is the input format for Google Calendar. And we do the same on payout dates. The only difference being that here we will link this calendar, this sheet to this calendar, dividend payments. And we'll ask us again with the pop-up, we'll confirm. And in no time, it's been created. And now all we need to do is get the information from these two tabs into these two sheets. So, as you can see, I couldn't have created those sheets for you. That's why you have to create them, and that's why they're not linked together. So we can now either simply select everything here and copy over as to this field here as values, but that's like a manual step. So what we could also do is just write a little formula. If this is not empty, then we'll take this, otherwise it's empty. And then we just copy that over into these fields here. And now you can see they have a formula. And then we just drag it down. And thereby it's automatically connected to the other sheet. And we will do the same on payout dates, but as that's the same process, let's first stick to this here. So you can see that as soon as we populated this sheet here with some values, this little box here got ticked, and that's standing for update. And that's what we want to do. We want to update our Google Calendar with these new events. So we go to add-ons, go to GCal, go to update sheet to calendar, and then we can sort of activate if we want to get some notifications. I want that. We can also activate to keep row data for deleted events, because once we have some events in the calendar, we can also automatically delete them via this functionality by ticking the boxes in this column. And then the question is whether you want to keep that data here or say everything gets deleted. So we don't need that right now, so that's why we're just gonna update this one. And now we go to our magic calendar. Right now it's completely empty, and as you can see here, the ex-dividend dates popped up and some more in real time, so to say. So the next one is so is that all? Yeah, and Visa and Exxon. Exxon was yesterday. Interesting. I wasn't aware of this. So Visa is ex-dividend today, and Raytheon tomorrow, and so on and so forth. So actually a lot of stocks going ex-dividend next week, which is kind of interesting. That's our ex-dividend dates calendar. So now if we just deselect that here, you see everything is gone. And we also want some payments. But before, you should note, once we updated the calendar, we can see that the time zone got inserted here. I'm in Europe, Berlin, so, well, that's this time zone. And a link. So if you click on that link, it would bring you to your calendar directly. And we'll do the same on payout dates. The same simple formula. So what we could do, for instance, is just copy this for here, and then just change the name. And if it's getting orange, then we know it's a valid name. So Apple, and here. And you can see, so if I now just go down, then all those things here will get like a little box. And here's our description. And yeah, now we just drag this down all the way, whatever we think is necessary. And there are the payments. So everything got, so now as you can see here, there are some boxes which are ticked, which we actually don't need. So in order to deselect, we just highlight them and just go all the way up with shift and arrow keys, and then press space to deselect. And now update our calendar sheet with the payments. And we just go right back into the calendar to see when they're coming. First 2 payments. Let's see some more. Yeah, Boeing stopped the dividend, so no payment here. Home Depot, Goldman Sachs, Apple, Caterpillar, and then Walt Disney. That information is not yet reflected on the Seeking Alpha page, but once it is, then it should be 0 because they're also suspended. And some more, as you can see. And if we go back here to the sheet, and we can see, yeah, 29 events have been created. And that concludes part 4. I hope you like this and find this useful. I think it's a great. So guys, having had recorded this, I noticed that I forgot to show you two important things. And as I didn't want to record everything again, I'm just doing like an extra recording. So 2 things here. So in the Google Calendar sheet here, on the SA dividend raw data, which is the data that you copy from your portfolio here. I took the Dow Jones on a day where markets are, well, could say crashing, at least compared to like the last few days, with financials getting well hit really hard. But anyway, so here is the Dow Jones tab and dividends. So you simply copy this from here over to here, just into A1, and then that's exactly the area. And then you have to set the dividend frequency, which is important for the calculations. So you can set Q for quarter, which is like the default, or H for semi-annual, half year, or M for monthly, and it will then calculate the next payout date or next ex-dividend date if it hasn't been declared yet. So here in the case of Disney, for instance, with a half year payment, the next ex-dividend date would be somewhere in June. But as we all know, Disney suspended the dividend, so, well, there won't be one. That's not yet reflected here, but it will be once this year is updated. And the other thing is, oops, on the SA Holdings tab, here you basically put in the number of shares you own per security, and you can either take that information from Seeking Alpha if you're maintaining it here, or just yeah, type in your stocks and your shares, and then you're ready to go. Just make sure it's pasted into this column E, so that it gets picked up. And then the last thing, on the overview sheet, you can set a last date to consider, which means that, for instance, if we're now in mid-May and you want to see all the payment dates for May in your calendar, then right now you wouldn't be able to do that because some dividends have already been paid. Like, for instance, AT&T, and thus the calendar would only show the next expected payment, which would be in August. In order to change that, you can set it back to like April 30, for instance, and then it will show all the payments for May, even those which have already been received. And yeah, that's it for now. Well, if you like this, I may add some more functionality in the future, like a dividend dashboard, or more information from Seeking Alpha, which you could, of course, like surface in your calendar. Yeah, just let me know if you have any feedback, any suggestions, comments, criticism, anything. I'd be happy to take it. And with that, I hope you enjoy this one.